Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sky, and I'm going to be looking at each class in depth for World of Warcraft Season of Discovery and answering a very simple question. Is it for you? And in today's video, we have the Rogue. We're going to be going over the strengths of the Rogue, what makes them great overall, the class's general features and gameplay style to see if it could be fun for you, the brand new spells and abilities coming to all three specs in Season of Discovery, grading the class after these spell additions in comparison with the other classes, and finally wrapping it up with a quick summary of the class overall. Hopefully by doing so, we can steer you in the right direction to selecting a class that truly speaks to you. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, the Comeback Kids are doing a giveaway for a free Rested XP leveling guide for your Season of Discovery journey. So make sure to subscribe and click the link in the description below to enter for a chance to win a free copy for yourself, or use our referral link to help support the channel today. Starting things off with the strengths of the Rogue, this class has a ton of crowd control abilities such as Gouge, Sap, Kidney Shot, and Blind, which makes them very valuable for group play as well as incredibly deadly for PvP. They also have access to Rogue-specific progression systems such as their poisons as well as lockpicking. They, of course, are one of the only few classes in the game that have access to stealth, and they have some of the highest on-demand bursts in the game. When it comes to open world PvP, this class has the edge over pretty much everybody, and in Season of Discovery, Ashenvale is going to be flooded with open world PvP combat, so as a rogue, you should have nothing but a great time. Now, with Season of Discovery, I'm sure you all know by now that they are adding new spells and abilities through what are called rune engravings. These start from level 2 onwards, and there are even a ton of leaks that were data mined that unveiled a wide variety of different rune slots across your character, but as of right now, you will only have 3 different slots at level 25, which are the gloves, legs, and chest slots. Kicking things off with the chest engravings, we have the Deadly Brew rune engraving, where when you inflict any other poison on the target, you also inflict deadly poison. And deadly poison is your damage over time poison, which can have some major benefits in PvE if you aren't a dagger spec rogue. So these double poison procs for sword spec will definitely be a major DPS increase. Now, if you're a dagger spec rogue, you acquire the brand new Slaughtered from the Shadows rune, and this reduces the energy cost of your backstab and ambush ability by 20. So rather than your backstabs being 60 energy, they are now reduced down to 40, which is a major difference. Lastly, for PvP, they are actually giving rogues Quick Draw, which fires a quick shot at an enemy and reduces their movement speed by 50%, and it also awards you a combo point. So this specifically is going to make rogues significantly stronger in PvP because their only real weakness before was getting kited by some classes and not being able to put out enough damage to land that kill. Now, with this, they can apply a range slow, deal some damage, stack up some combo points to do a great finisher to really end the fight. Lastly, in Season of Discovery, it looks like they're going to be giving you a tanking option as a rogue, with the first rune being Just a Flesh Wound. This makes you take 20% reduced physical damage while Blade Dance is active, and it also gives you a 6% reduced chance to be critically hit by melee attacks. It also increases your threat generation massively, and swapping your Feint ability with Tease, which is now also a taunt. Moving on now to the glove runes, we have Mutilate, which strikes both daggers, awarding you combo points and dealing instant damage, working exactly how it is in any other iteration of World of Warcraft. Next up, we have Shiv, which instantly attacks with your offhand weapon, applying the poison from your offhand, bringing you some great utility for rogues that came in the Burning Crusade and is now great for instantly applying your crippling poison to keep enemies slowed and almost working like a hamstring in a way. After that, we have Main Gauche, which is another tanking rogue ability that instantly strikes with your offhand weapon and increases your chance to parry by 10%. And not only that, it also benefits from all effects that modify your Sinister Strike as well. For Combat Rogue, it looks like your Sinister Strike ability is going to be replaced by Saber Slash, which slashes an enemy and causes them to bleed over 12 seconds, stacking up to 3 times. This is going to scale really well with those slow one-handed weapons and giving you a nice bleed for some consistent DPS. And lastly, you have Shadow Strike, which teleports you behind your target instantly and strikes for 150% weapon damage, but it must be used in stealth. It's identical to the retail World of Warcraft version of Shadow Strike, so if you use it in retail, you should have an idea of how this style of spell should work. This is going to be fantastic for instantly closing the gap on your enemy, dealing some nice damage, and also allowing you to control them to set up your next big finisher. And lastly, we have our leg runes, starting off with Between the Eyes, which is a range finishing move that deals damage and stuns the target. Once again, we have another rune that prevents rogues from being kited too bad in PvP and it provides them with some fantastic range crowd control to close the gap and finish off their targets. Next up, we have Envenom, which is a finishing move that deals instant poison damage based on your deadly poison doses on the target. This works exactly the same as Envenom from Wrath of the Lich King, and in PvE should provide a massive DPS increase for rogues, as well as can potentially be used for PvP for chunking down those heavy armor targets like warriors and paladins. And finally, for our new rogue runes, we have the Blade Dance finishing move. This increases your parry chance by up to 10% for 30 seconds, and combining this with your other tanking rogue runes, you have 20% reduced physical damage, 20% chance to parry, leaving you honestly pretty tanky overall. Combine that with some other talents in the combat tree, there could be some serious potential in making Rogue a pretty high DPS tanking spec for dungeons. Now, of course, when it comes to runes, every class got some pretty amazing additions, but previously, Rogue was already dominating in PvP all throughout the classic era. But it's important to know, ladies and gentlemen, that things are about to get a lot more frustrating for players going up against really good Rogue players. I mean, their biggest weakness was the fact that they could get kited by ranged classes, and it's looking like these problems are starting to get solved with having quick draw deal damage and slow down enemies, as well as giving you combo points, having Shadow Strike for when you can vanish, you can instantly teleport behind them, and lastly, you have Between the Eyes to give you a ranged stun combo finisher to close the gap between you and your opponent. Not only that, for PvE and leveling, which was usually a slog and quite boring for rogues, they're getting some major improvements to dagger specs, with now having Mutilate as a damage filler instead of Sinister Strike, and having Slaughter from the Shadows to deal more consistent damage behind enemy targets with your daggers, with the lower energy costs on backstabs and ambushes. Pairing this with your Envenom, which bypasses all the enemy's armor and gives you almost guaranteed poison applications for 5 seconds, your damage is going to be through the roof as you're leveling or in dungeons. As of right now, rogues still don't have any AoE abilities other than Blade Flurry, but we will have to see what changes down the line as we progress through the Season of Discovery with all the other armor rune slots that are going to be available by the time we reach max level. To wrap it up, ladies and gentlemen, if you love being in and out of combat with a class that has a high skill cap and crazy versatility, it's really no doubt that this class is going to be your main choice. Rogues are agile assassins based mostly on physical damage with melee and ranged attacks, and you also have access now to a wide variety of DPS builds, and even a tanking option come Season of Discovery to give you a large gameplay variety. They're a class that thrives in open world PvP combat and can be a great fit for any dungeon group prioritizing specific single target DPS and even crowd control. And Rogue's leveling path previously was quite boring, but now with all these changes, it looks like there's a ton of different gameplay styles that could be viable and leveling quickly and efficiently. Now listen, if you thought Rogue was enjoyable and classic, be ready, because in Season of Discovery, they got a ton of changes, making it look like they're going to stay right on top. Now you know just about everything that we've been shown so far about the Rogue in World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. There's really only one question left to answer, though. Is it for you? Let us know in the comments section below. Also, ladies and gentlemen, keep an eye out for our other Is It For You videos for World of Warcraft Season of Discovery. And if you're interested, hit that subscribe button to join us on the journey throughout this exciting future that holds so many great things for World of Warcraft. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It's an absolute pleasure to be making content for you all. Until the very end, my name is Sky from the Comeback Kids. I will see you all in the next one. Peace.